How's the event going? Good? Thank you. You know, we're in a crisis right now, and it's about whether or not the president is going to be removed from office by his political opposition through abuse of the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, the NSA. That's the story of our time. And you won't read about that in mainstream media. You hear about it from us, Judicial Watch, you hear about it from Fox. But that's the rule of law crisis. And someone's going to do something about it. Because the president's all alone. You don't hear anyone in Congress talking about keeping Mueller under control, do you? No. Trey Gowdy thinks that Mueller ought to continue. That's a real crisis. But let's go back to where it began. You know, a few years ago, we were investigating Benghazi. You all remember Benghazi? 4 Americans killed. And there was a cover-up because the Obama administration didn't want you to know that it was terrorists. They wanted you to pretend that it was some sort of demonstration or something that got out of control, when in fact it was a terrorist attack. September 11th, 2012. September 11th, you all know that date, right? That's a pretty good indication, don't you think, that terrorism was involved? But Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, all the king's men and women went out there and lied repeatedly, saying it was a video and not a terrorist attack. So really outrageous. We began investigating it quickly. So we started getting documents. We found a big document that even Congress couldn't get. Because what Judicial Watch does, we use a law called the Freedom of Information Act. And the document showed that it was the White House behind this big lie. And that spurred the creation of the Select Committee on Benghazi, and that's when you first heard about Trey Gowdy, of all people. But one thing I noticed in those documents we got, where were Hillary's emails? Where were they? And I thought, well, maybe she didn't use emails. Maybe she didn't use emails. Maybe, you know, look, she was First Lady, she had run for Senate, ran for President, lost. Became Secretary of State. Became Secretary of State. Maybe the email revolution had passed her by. But we asked again, because we trust but verify, to use Ronald Reagan's phrase. And then they came back to us with some stuff we already got, and we said, where are her emails? And they said, whoa, wait, we're giving you everything we can, but there may be some other documents. It turned out our FOIA lawsuits uncovered the fact she was hiding all of her emails from us. And it was that litigation from little old Judicial Watch, not from Congress, not from the DOJ, not from the FBI, not from media, but from Judicial Watch, that uncovered the Clinton email scandal. And the rest is history. The rest is history. And at the same time this Justice Department and FBI were investigating Hillary Clinton, what were they doing? Bending over backwards to protect her. So it wasn't even a real investigation. And while they're bending over backwards to protect her, they were working with her campaign, who was working with Russian intelligence to create fake dirt about President Trump, laundering it into the FBI and Justice Department to target the Trump team. That was the Russian collusion. So the DOJ, the Justice Department, and the FBI protecting Hillary, targeting Trump at the same time. Never before, at least in recent American history, have you had the FBI and DOJ launch a spy operation against the major candidate of a political party like that. Never before. Well, maybe Democrats did it in the 60s. Certainly not since Nixon and Watergate. Nixon was a piker compared to the Obama gang. And so you had President Trump and his people being spied upon by the Obama gang. And then just recently, just this last week, Judicial Watch uncovered these secret warrants that were created to target the Trump team. Now, if you listen to the media, well, they won't tell you anything about it. But what they show is they show that this document created by the Clinton operation, the so-called dossier, just money spent by the Clinton operation to get it together, and they gave it to the Justice Department and the FBI. And they used this fake document to convince a court in secret to allow spying on the Trump team, namely Carter Page. And they lied time and time again to the court about what they were up to. And you know who benefited from that spy operation? One of those warrants was issued during Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation. So Mueller is benefiting from this illegal spying as well. And let's talk about Robert Mueller's operation. He can't find one registered Republican to work on his special counsel team. His top deputy, Andrew Weissman, is an anti-Trumper. One of the new hires just recently, he has 20 prosecutors, worked in the Obama White House. Didn't work in the Bush White House. He didn't work in the Reagan White House. He worked in the Obama White House. He's going after Paul Manafort, raiding his home early in the morning with guns drawn, raiding the offices of Michael Cohen, the president's lawyer. They don't raid the offices of drug dealers' lawyers or mafia lawyers, but the president, we're going to get him. We need not only to call attention to what Mueller's doing, we got to shut it down. We have to shut down the Mueller Special Counsel operation. It's partisan. It's partisan. It's abusive.
It's treason.
You know, in the Soviet Union, one of the famous communists, murdering communists, used to say, "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime." Meaning, if they wanted to go after you, they would. And in our system of justice, you're supposed to be investigating crimes. But in the case of Donald Trump, they're just investigating him because they don't like him. And this Justice Department has been shanghaied by the Mueller team, meaning the Justice Department doesn't even answer the president anymore. Doesn't answer the Congress. They're stonewalling Congress. Those documents I told you about, those secret warrant documents from the FISA court, foreign intelligence surveillance operation against the incoming president, or soon-to-be president. Congress couldn't get those documents, but Judicial Watch did. Which is another big problem, because Congress has zero interest in investigating government corruption. Zero interest. Now, there are members of Congress who are good in that area, like Jim Jordan, who just announced he's running for Speaker. Mark Meadows. Got individual members who are doing the right thing. But the leadership in both houses, Senate and the House, I'm not talking Democrat leadership, I'm talking Republican leadership. They don't like doing the hard work of uncovering government corruption. So it is up to you, it is up to me, it is up to Judicial Watch, it is up to the citizens to do the work and the heavy lifting that Congress refuses to do, and the liberal media who loves big government refuses to do as well. It's essential we do that. That's why I open it up. The president is all alone, but he's only all alone here in Washington, because I know you believe he's being assaulted unfairly. We believe it, and you know tens of millions of Americans believe it. But here in Washington, he's all alone. And I tell you what, I like those odds, because we need to stand fast for the rule of law and protect this president from a lawless assault that would see him removed from office, or him and his family members and associates jailed if they could get away with it. It's that serious. So when you hear all the noise about public policy discussions and debates about tax cuts, and then you may think, well, why is the president tweeting about Russia? Because they want to put him in jail over it. And it's outrageous. And he's the only one with the leadership abilities and capabilities and vision to highlight this corruption scandal. Because everyone else in town is afraid to take on this outrageous investigation. And let's talk about Hillary Clinton. Judicial Watch is still getting her emails. Still getting her emails showing there was classified information on her system. Anyone else would have been locked up. In fact, the emails that we found were also on Anthony Weiner's laptop. You all remember Anthony Weiner? Classified information on her system. Anyone else would have been arrested. We don't need special prosecutors for Hillary Clinton. We need a prosecution. There is more than enough to arrest her now. And sadly, it's not really sad, because that's what the politicians say. Outrageously, she's still being protected by the deep state, still being protected by the FBI and the Justice Department. What is the excuse this Justice Department has not to reinforce the rule of law by at least beginning to renew the investigation of Hillary Clinton? Are they going to let what went on during the Obama administration be the standard by which we allow government officials to get away with breaking the laws related to classified information, stealing documents, destroying documents, hiding them, and lying to investigators and Congress and the courts? Is this Justice Department going to endorse that lawlessness while being willing to jail someone like Paul Manafort, who's being investigated because his clothing purchases were out of line with his income? Remember that raid I told you about? You know what they did? They took pictures of his suits. You think they took pictures of Hillary Clinton's suits? But that's the challenge we face. So, the media isn't going to do it. Congress isn't going to do it. But Judicial Watch is. Hillary Clinton still has to, we have a court hearing later this year. Hillary Clinton still has to answer questions under oath to Judicial Watch. Or may be able, but in either way, she has to go to court and explain why she shouldn't have to answer more questions under oath. Well, exactly. We're still getting her emails. We're still getting documents over the Obama targeting of Donald Trump. 30 lawsuits we have pending on that. And we're a movement. I'm sure many of you, if you're not, you all should be supporting us. I'm sure many of your folks and grand folks are supporting us. Follow us on Twitter. Now, I've been shadow banned by Twitter. But you do that to people that you fear. To people who are winning. And we are winning on these rule of law battles. I'd like to see Hillary Clinton be prosecuted, held fully to account to the rule of law. But think about this. If the American people were a grand jury, they kind of indicted her on election day, didn't they? So there's rough justice, imperfect but interesting accountability, and that's why it's important we continue to do the work we do, because all we do is just get the documents out. And that's the truth. And the left fears the truth. Corrupt politicians of both political parties fear the truth. And that's why what Judicial Watch does is essential to the health of our nation. And I can tell you, and I'll end it with this: God bless America. Because there's no other country in the world where we'd be able to do the sort of work we do to hold our government to account. And it's a precious, precious right. A meeting like this would be not allowed in most places in the world. And I'm not talking Russia, China, North Korea. I'm talking Europe. They don't allow this sort of government accountability, oversight, civil society, protected political speech. And that's why when they come after you in your high schools and on your college campuses, and afterwards when you start working because of your First Amendment protected views, you need to stand strong against it. You really do. And in the meantime, you can bet Judicial Watch will work to vindicate your rights and represent you and the American people here in the swamp, because Lord knows the swamp needs training. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, the left and the dishonest media would have you believe that this material backs up their ideas about Donald Trump collusion, that there was a good faith basis to have there was probable cause to go after Carter Page, and that the courts really weren't misled because they said one of the key source, Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele, may have been political opponents of Trump. Well, that's just dishonest. And I want to read the relevant portion of the material here, so you can judge for yourself. They're online, but I know it's hard to go online sometimes and read documents. It's a big document here. And let me read it to you, and let me see if you can figure out if they're being honest here. Source number one, heavily redacted, blank, and has been an FBI source since blank. Source number one's reporting has been corroborated and used in criminal proceedings, and the FBI assesses source number one to be reliable. This is Christopher Steele, the former UK spy. Source number one has been compensated, XXX, redacted, by the FBI. Oh wait, the FBI was also paying. Along with, I guess they were partners with the Clinton campaign and the DNC in paying for this Christopher Steele. It's been compensated by the FBI, there's a blank time, source number one has been compensated, redacted, by the FBI, and the FBI is unaware of any derogatory information pertaining to Source One. Source One, who now owns a foreign business financial intelligence firm, was approached by an identified U.S. person who indicated to Source One that the U.S.-based law firm had hired the identified U.S. person to conduct research regarding candidate one ties to Russia. The identified U.S. person and source number one have a long-standing business relationship. So who's the identified U.S. person? It's Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS. Who's that law firm? Perkins Coie, the law firm hired by the Clinton DNC to launder money into Fusion GPS to pay for the Russia dirt. The identified U.S. person hired source number one to conduct this research. The identified U.S. person, again, Fusion GPS, never advised source number one as to the motivation behind the research into candidate one's ties to Russia. The FBI speculates that the identified U.S. person was likely looking for information that could be used to discredit candidate one's campaign. The FBI speculates. The FBI knew at the time Fusion GPS
was working for the Clinton campaign. Is there anything that I read to you that you could read to suggest that Hillary Clinton and the DNC used a law firm to hire this former spy to dig up dirt on Donald Trump in Russia? Of course not. Anyone who suggests that this was being honest with the court is blowing smoke in your ear. Talk about corruption. And you know who needs to answer questions about this? Rod Rosenstein, who signed off on this as late as June of 2017. Oh, isn't that an interesting date, June 2017? Because it was a month or so after Robert Mueller started. So the Mueller operation is benefiting from this corrupt FISA application where the courts were gamed dishonestly to get secret spy warrants on the Trump operation. And remember, Strzok was there at the time as well. Remember, concurrently, you had spies being sent to the Trump operation to try to ensnare them by the FBI and DOJ. Never before in our nation's history, certainly not in recent memory, have you had such corruption by one government agency, by an administration targeting its political opponent, namely the political opponent being the candidate for presidency of the opposing party. Unbelievable. And what are we talking about this week? Michael Cohen having a tape about Donald Trump talking about buying a story related to a woman who accused him of having an affair with him. This is the story of our time, folks. These documents showing corruption, unprecedented corruption that has metastasized into a special counsel operation that continues to harass this president with no good faith basis. You want to know how bad it is now? It was announced this week through the New York Times. I don't know who leaked it, and I don't know even if it's true, but it sounds true given how outrageous the Mueller operation is. Mueller is reading and investigating the president's tweets and public statements for evidence of conspiracy or obstruction of justice. How do you obstruct justice through public statements? I guess in theory it's possible. Say I want to get that witness. But the president giving opinions about Comey and whether Sessions is doing a good job, that's obstruction of justice. His tweets are evidence of obstruction of justice. Who is running the Justice Department? It's desperation by Mueller because there's obviously nothing for him to investigate anymore. It's abusive, and it's harassment. And I'll say it once, I've said it once, and I will say it again. This Mueller special counsel needs to be shut down, pardons issued to Americans targeted by him, and a real special counsel appointed, one who's honest and ethical and reports to the proper authorities and is supervised in a regular way to investigate the corruption behind the current special counsel operation. Remember, and this shows no Clinton DNC dossier, no secret warrants, because the Clinton DNC dossier is central. Andrew McCabe testified. He said no Clinton DNC dossier, no warrant. No Clinton DNC dossier, there would have been no Mueller special counsel as well.
Will not regret it. I promise you're going to love this book. Even one of our editors, by the way, who, the editor obviously reads through the book, the editor was like, this is unbelievably compelling. Like, you can't put it down. And once you start seeing the connections, if you're a regular listener to the show, it's going to all come together. So I really appreciate that. Again, the attempted sabotage of Donald J. Trump, Spygate. Go check it out on Amazon today. Please help us get into the top 100. We're like right there. We're at 130, which out of all the millions of books on Amazon is pretty strong. So we're number one in our category. So thanks a lot.
All right.
Okay. So yesterday, I don't know if you missed it, but there was an epic troll by Donald Trump. He's Did you miss this at the press conference? Guys, ladies, this is why The man is constantly underestimated by people, and one of the things that bothers me is you may disagree with his style. You can disagree with anything. It's a constitutional republic. That's as long as you don't threaten the man's life, God forbid. You are free in a constitutional republic to object to just about anything the president does, and that's great. That's the essence of liberty and freedom. My problem with the media and liberals is they constantly sell this man's intellect short, Joe. Now, one of the shows a couple weeks ago, I discussed how that's not even a rational position. The man has clearly been a very successful businessman. He hasn't been a successful businessman without failure. I don't think many successful businessmen have. I mean, even Steve Jobs thought the Newton was a good idea, right? But he has made himself hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. He also managed to pull off, out of 330 million people in this country, only one person is the president of the United States at a time. There are probably close to 10, if not 20, who knows, 30 million people who would love to be the president. There are probably close to, at any given time, 5,000, 10,000, Joe, serious contenders, wealthy business people, politicians, senators, governors, etc. Trump managed to pull this off with almost no political, well, definitely no elected office experience. He has dabbled in politics before, but he's never run officially before,
Right.
where he's been on that ballot and run, right? With no political experience at all, the first office he wins is the presidency. And I say this because I'm constantly amazed at how many people in the media constantly sell this man's intellect short because they don't like the substance of how he talks. Now, me having grown up in New York and in Queens, where Trump is from, I'm used to that kind of talk. The brash style, the braggadocio, the chest puffery, even the language. Very, very, and those of you who are from New York, from Queens, the Bronx, not necessarily Manhattan, that's like a separate entity altogether, I'd say. I don't mean that in a pejorative kind of way. I mean it like if they just, the people in Manhattan are just different. A lot of them commute in, too. Very, very smart people in Queens. People with high intellect, high intellectual aptitude, intellectual achievement, talk in a way that is off-putting, I guess, to others. So we're used to it. We don't associate dropping some F-bombs and the way Trump talks with a lack of intellect. You get it, Joe? We've learned to segregate out the two.
Sometimes you have to toot your own horn.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to, and he's good at it. And that's the style of the Queens guy, right?
Yep.
But I've learned to separate the two, and I understand that this guy is a really, really smart guy. He gets it. Something happened yesterday. I didn't mean to go on long-winded there, but it's important because, again, the guy is constantly portrayed as some kind of ignoramus who doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
Trump has had this ongoing battle with the media that I spoke about last night on the Hannity show, and this ongoing battle with the media has been genius. He has taken conventional wisdom and thrown it on its head. Conventional wisdom with the media, as Joe well knows, having been involved in politics at a largely conservative talk radio station for most of his adult life now. Joe, remember the old theory about battling the media if you were a conservative? It was, you don't fight people who buy ink by the barrel.
Right, correct, absolutely.
Right, you leave them alone, let them call you a racist, misogynist, anistophobic, phobophobe, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Heard it a
let them
million
do
times,
it.
yeah.
Right, remember, Joe? Because if you fight back, they're just going to write more negative stuff and they're going to destroy you.
You got that constantly, I know.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
When I was running in Maryland, it was abhorrent. Some of the there was one guy, this guy John Fritzy at the Baltimore Sun, who was really fair. I mean, I wouldn't say he's not a conservative or anything, but I thought his pieces were generally pretty fair. Outside of that, we got slaughtered by the media every day. Now they never, called me a racist. Thank God. I'd be pretty fired up. I'd probably sue if they did. But the coverage was abhorrent. Donald Trump, understand, has turned this model on its head. This is important because it explains the media hysteria over Trump now and their one-upmanship of crazy. They've gone from crazy coverage to insane coverage, and they're actually not just damaging, but because their brand is already damaged, but they're in the process of actually decimating and destroying their own brand. You understand what I'm telling you?
Oh, yeah.
They're at the point now where they're wiping out their viewership, they're wiping out their subscription base, they're wiping out their readership base in print media. They are losing their entire audience. As I said last night on Hannity, CNN is in the process of losing their ratings to reruns of HGTV about people buying beach property they bought 7 or 8 years ago. This is pretty. Bob Ross reruns on PBS. Pretty little tree. Look at the tree. It's a pretty little tree. I love Bob Ross. But CNN is they're being destroyed. If CNN wasn't on in airports, it wouldn't be on anywhere. They're being decimated. Now, they're doing this because I believe Trump has genuinely flipped the script on them, and they have no idea how to tactically respond. Because their old model in the past is, we're in charge, we buy ink by the barrel, don't mess with us, and we will in turn, we understand you can't mess with us, so we're going to double down on criticism and charges of racism and misogyny, all not only ill-founded, but potentially libelous and slanderous in many cases. But they didn't care because they knew people wouldn't fight back, because the running theory was to leave the media alone even when they say horrible things, because they'll keep writing horrible things. Trump has flipped it around. His entire brand is not only, this is going to be like triple, quadruple negatives. His brand is not, he doesn't ignore the media. He has actually used attacking the media as a positive, as a, look, I'm the guy taking on the media. Instead of the idea in the past, Joe, and the media knew this, which was, you better leave them alone. They're going to come after you, and if they come after you, it is going to be ruthless. And you better back down. The media knew that, so they doubled down. They didn't care. They call you a racist, whatever, insinuated. They knew you were going to back down. Not only now does this guy not back down, he doubles down his criticism, and he's using it to build a positive, hey, I'm a warrior for you against the media label. It's driving them crazy. That is a strategy, folks. It's not an accident. Donald Trump has figured out a soft spot. The soft spot is there is a large swath of American base voters who will turn out and vote for Trump, who are sick and tired of media lies. They're tired of it. They're done with it. They're guys, done. Donezo. Forget it, right? The point I'm trying to make with this is yesterday something happened at the press conference with the Italian Prime Minister. He's at the press conference, and the first question at the press conference, and you know, you get accustomed to this being with the Secret Service at these things all the time. The first question at the press conference is always a big deal. Who does he take the first question from? Sajar from the Daily Caller. Why does that matter? See, a lot of people didn't pick up on this. Joe, I don't know if you did either. This is a big deal. Why? What's been going on? The Daily Caller, which is a terrific outlet, Luke Rosiak, Chuck Ross, Sajar and Jetty over there, they've been doing terrific work. Amber Athey. The Daily Caller's been doing incredible work over there. Now, do they write pieces that are opinion? Of course. So does the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, everyone else. It really bothers the left-wing media that an outlet like the Daily Caller, through Chuck Ross and Luke Rosiak, are breaking stories every day on the Pakistani IT scandal on the Hill. Chuck Ross, who broke the story about Stefan Halper, the FBI asset used to target Trump. That was Chuck Ross's story. That wasn't a mainstream media outlet. They are furious. So let me lay the battlefield for you. Trump is not a dope. Trump has strategically taken on the media, whereas Republicans in the past have backed down. Strategically taken on the media has become a positive for him, not a negative, which is driving the media wild, because how do you respond? With more anger, which allows Trump to take on the media even more, which boosts his approval rating, which boosts the psychopathy of the left-wing media. They don't know what to do. They can't dial it down because they're afraid they'll send a signal to him that he won. He already won. So he goes to the press conference yesterday knowing the Daily Caller is under full frontal assault. They've been under assault by people at BuzzFeed and other people as well, saying these guys don't belong in there, the Daily Caller. This is not a mainstream media outlet, which is a joke because they're not mainstream at all, the liberal hacks, right? So Trump knows all this, Joe, of course, and he gets up, and who does he take the first question from? Oh, the Daily Caller. How about that? How about that, Trump? Oh, you may have missed it. And of course, the outrage was insane. If you're not on Twitter, following it, I get it. A lot of you don't have. This is what I do for a living. Most of you work really hard for a living. You can't sit there on Twitter, but I spend about a good hour or 2 hours a day on Twitter, basically looking at left-wing accounts to see what the thought process of the day is going to be. I follow select accounts. I can't put them because they'll block me. I'm sorry. I wish I could, folks, but I know they'll block me. But I follow them, and well, I'll put one of them out there because I don't think he may block me. He's blocked those. But this Ken Delanian at NBC. Ken Delanian lost his mind. He basically attacked the next up Sputnik, like making a joke about how they asked the Daily Caller got to ask the question for. Yeah, he lost his mind, Joe. He just got crushed. I'll put an article in the show notes today, Bongino.com, from Twitchy about how Ken Delanian himself, who has been credibly accused of being in bed with administration officials and vetting stories before that. He lost his mind on Twitter, along with all the other left-wing journalists, too. Oh, my gosh, the Daily Caller. But this is another example of the Trump... I hate the Trump derangement syndrome because but it's true.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do, and he trolls them so effortlessly. Instead of just letting it go, right? Instead of just letting it go that the Daily Caller is called on first, right? They're so emotionally wrapped up in their fight against Donald Trump. What do? Again, they're supposed to be journalists.
Yeah.
They respond in a personal, not professional way, attacking the Daily Caller based on no substance at all, to which what? Conservatives rally behind again the Daily Caller and Trump and just make these idiots look foolish again and again and again. I tell you, people love it. I'm getting more comments about you and the soundboard. They're like, let him go. I'm like, let him go. He already goes. What do you mean, let him go? Let him go. Like I have any control. I don't have his computer. I can't even touch it. His computer's on his right side. He does whatever he wants. And Joe, doubling down on the hypocrisy, I have another piece at the Washington Examiner about how just a few days ago, Caitlin Collins, who I believe used to write for the Daily Caller, by the way, works for CNN. I don't know Caitlin. She never, I don't have anything personal against her. And I'm a big supporter of the free press. But Caitlin Collins was asked not to attend the White House meeting because when asked to leave the room, she kept shouting questions. By the way, something Obama's done. Obama has kicked reporters out for repeatedly asking questions when stopped. He has. It's on videotape. Matter of fact, I may play it on the NRA TV show tonight. I was going to do it last night. You know this story. Obama has thrown reporters out. It's on tape. So they asked this Caitlin Collins. They didn't say CNN couldn't come in and cover a later event, but they said to Caitlin Collins at CNN, you specifically cannot come into this later event because when asked to leave, you repeatedly would not leave the room and kept shouting questions. Again, I'm an advocate for the free press. The White House is free to do what they want on that and take the political fallout from it, right? But what's interesting, Joe, is when it was about Caitlin Collins and CNN, everybody rallied around them. Oh, CNN's great. But now all of a sudden it's the Daily Caller, and this guy Ken Delanian from NBC and others attacked the Daily Caller. All the liberal media people all of a sudden are quiet about it. Oh, no, it's the Daily Caller. We're free to attack them. You see how these people are such hacks they are? Trump senses this. He senses this soft spot. He always goes for the soft spot. He's doing, I was going to talk about this last, but that's why he's doing this again with the NFL, and he's doing it with the government shutdown. These were, I had these stories labeled 5 and 6, but it's important now to bring up. The NFL story, he keeps poking and prodding on. The latest update in the NFL story, by the way, I've never seen a brand destroy itself. A toilet bowl-like spiral down the toilet bowl like the NFL. I just can't believe how a billion-dollar enterprise with some allegedly smart people has so decimated its own brand in the name of a few snowflake social justice warriors. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, comes out finally and says, listen, you're on our team, you're going to toe the line. Toe, T-O-E, not T-O-W. You are going to step up during the national anthem, put your feet on that line, put your hand on your heart. You want to protest and do your other stuff, fine. Not on my time. I own the team. Good for him.
Yeah.
That position probably appeals to 90% of America. Instead of the NFL letting it go, Joe, I know, I was actually going to go buy a Cowboys jersey after that. Instead of letting it go, the NFL tells Jerry Jones, hey, we don't want you talking about this. Oh, can you guys? I'm done. Every time I try to give them a little bit of credit, they can't get out of their own way. Trump senses this. He has a knack for the political soft spot of America, and he moves right in for the kill. Every single time. That's why he keeps talking about this story. Now, folks, understand this. The reason this does not penetrate into the mainstream GOP, the swamp rats. The reason the mainstream GOP, and I use that term mainstream loosely, doesn't cover these issues, doesn't get into the press fights, doesn't get into the NFL story, doesn't get into the shutdowns. Oh, shutdown. We can't shut the government down. What did Trump tweet out the other day? I don't get my border wall. I'm fine with the government shutdown. The GOP, the mainstream GOP was like, oh, oh. Joe's looking at my face. Oh, you can't say that. So I have another article in the show notes today. Great clip by Mark Levin from the Mark Levin Show, hat tip. But Mark Levin's like, why? Last time the government shut down in 2013, the Republicans picked up seats in the Senate. How did we lose? We didn't lose anything. We won seats. Why? Why does Trump see the soft spots? He pokes around. Oh, soft spot. Keep going. Because, folks, I've run for office. When you're brought up in this, right? I was not, but I didn't win my seats, right? But I ran. I ran more than enough credible races. We raised a lot of money. We almost pulled off an upset. Almost doesn't count. Horseshoes and hand grenades. But what happens in the political space is it's a big incestuous circle. When you run for office and you get, say, endorsements and support from people, what winds up happening is some of them, not all of them, will say, hey, I want to recommend this guy. This guy is going to be a great campaign manager, a great consultant. I need you to bring him on. This is what happens. So what happens in that circle, Joe, is the credible candidates that get credible endorsements, right, they wind up bringing on people who've been used by the candidates before. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to tell you is the people putting the messaging out there for the GOP and poking around for issues that matter are the same people. It's the same people running Senator Joey Bag of Donuts' campaign. It's the same guy running State Delegate Joey Bag of Donuts' campaign. It's the same guys. They poke around, and the same thing they told people in the past, win or lose. Like, there's a guy in Maryland, I'm not going to leave his name out of it for obvious reasons. This guy's gotten paid as a political consultant. I'll bet Joe knows who he is, too. This dude has been living high on the hog on political consulting fees for, Joe, I kid you not, I'll tell you after the show who it is. Decades, you know. Decades, and he has yet to win, I think, a significant race. But everybody who's used them, oh, you got to use this guy. You want my endorsement? You say, why would you want the endorsement of a guy who lost? Because he may have lost and still has a fundraising base. He may still have some influence. And he's like, you got to use this guy. This consultant, Joey Bag of Donuts. So it's the same losers. Why? The same losers are saying, don't touch the NFL issue. It has racial overtones. Doesn't have What do you mean? I can't talk about disrespecting the national anthem without being called a racist? No, I don't accept that. No, that's ridiculous. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn it back on you. You're a racist for saying that.
Bingo!
Damn right. It's the same consultants. Don't talk about a government shutdown. It's catastrophic for the GOP. Did you tell the 15 prior candidates who lost, who you consulted for that? Yes. Maybe we should try something different. No, I'm 0 for 15. I don't want to break the streak. By the way, I'm $10,000 a month in consulting fees. They give me a losing strategy? Don't talk about the press. Don't do it. Don't do it. They buy ink by the barrel. Don't do it. Hey, did you tell your 15 prior losing candidates that, yes, but we almost won a few races? Guys, listen. The reason this is sensitive to me, I got really, really epically bad advice once from a political consultant. I'm not going to say her name again. On my second campaign, she advised me to not enter into a race. I'm sure to this day I would have won. Now, I'm glad I am where I am. My political career is over. I cannot be clearer on that. I have been blessed by God and by God blessing me the opportunity to talk to you, and I would never forfeit that. Thank you. But I'm telling you, a very, very bad piece of advice was given by someone who was a consultant on prior campaigns with rhinos. It was the worst piece of advice I ever got. Trump is different. I've been there, and I regret listening to it because my instinct said otherwise. Trump is a man who has made his millions and who has always followed his political instincts, and he is relatively new to the process. The circle jerk of people who were the focus group tested people, the focus group tested consultants, the consultants who had given the advice to the 15 candidates who had lost in the past. Joe, where were they during the Donald Trump primary for president? They were working for the other candidates. It was a packed field. Guys, ladies, this is not an insignificant point. It was a, 17-person field at one point?
Huge.
The depth of the field, Lindsey Graham, Rubio, Ted Cruz, Kasich, Ben Carson.
Carly,
gosh, yeah, exactly. The names go on and on and on. The depth of the field mattered. Trump was not considered a serious candidate. These focus group tested consultants who have a losing strategy, who've given bad advice, don't touch the NFL, don't touch this. These same consultants had already been scooped up by Rubio, by Cruz, by others. Well, Cruz had a lot of outsiders too, to be fair. I like Cruz a lot. I'm not taking a shot at Ted Cruz. He's a good man. But a lot of them had jumped onto more establishment campaigns. Trump didn't have these guys. Trump had to run a campaign based on instinct. And his political instincts based on being a business guy and dealing and talking with normal people, union workers for his business deals, people who are out there building stuff, builders, construction workers, casino employees. His instincts were spot on. The focus group tested polls and the consultants that used them and fed this BS to their candidates were wrong. Trump won. He won the primary. He won the general. The man's instincts are spot on. And the fact that the media continues to sell this man and his instincts short leads people to miss things that happened yesterday. His instincts were to epically troll the media yesterday at that press conference, knowing the Daily Caller is under fire by hack media goons on the left. And what does he do? His first instinct is to call on the Daily Caller. Because he knows. He senses this shutdown thing. He senses that the Democrats will be viewed as obstructionists on an issue that matters to Americans, border security. He knows. He knows the NFL pisses people off. Kneeling on, he knows that. The focus group polls, we interviewed a diverse group of people on the NFL issue, and 51.6% said, this is great. That's not people watching the NFL, and it certainly aren't people who support this country.